young people want to buy or prefer to buy meme tokens than they do US dollars. Now, that's a big, scary thing for the future if you are set on owning purely fiat currency, because you will miss out on the big opportunity ahead, which is how do I resonate with young people? And if you're not in that crypto space with what young people want to do with their money, you'll miss out. So
all right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Richer Geek. Today we have Mark Basa. He's the global brand and business manager for Hawk Finance, and it's an early crypto evangelist. That's what Mark is, and he's got a decade of experience and expertise that establishes him as a thought leader in creating and building crypto brands. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Now, I'm an old guy, so, this whole Bitcoin token, all this sort of stuff, flies over my head because, I just haven't studied it that much. Now, you're specializing in strategic development and brand conceptualization for early stage companies. You've been doing this for a while. So tell me what you're up to.
Sure. So I joined Hawk Finance about 6 months ago. So the background of Hawk Finance, they were actually one of the original meme tokens. And if you've heard of these meme tokens, they're predominantly the first one, the most famous one is Dogecoin. That's one that Elon Musk is supporting right now. He thinks it's the bee's knees, and Hawk Hokkaido Inu was the name of the token, and that launched around May last year. And that's when what was called meme season exploded, where all these meme tokens just came onto the market. And Hawk did like a $800 million market cap. It did $100 million of volume in a single day. And that was because a lot of people saw Elon jump on Saturday Night Live, talk about Dogecoin and everything else. And predominantly with these tokens, they don't really have much value. There's no real utility. You can't use them in many places. It's hype. Celebrity marketing, endorsement, that sort of thing. So I invested in a bunch of them, made lots of money. Then the Bitcoin correction came, and of course I lost some, but I came out on top, thankfully. Sold at the right time, but a lot of people lost. And I think that's because, the moment that the market corrects, people just want to bail out of something that has no use case anymore. So I pitched to a couple of them, and Hawk actually wrote back to me, and I actually said, hey, I think I can help your brand. If you build a decentralized financial ecosystem around a young person's life to help them send and spend the money they want to, you will win this race. And so that's basically how I got involved with Hawk. I was involved in Bitcoin about 10 years ago. Some buddies and I got together, developed an omni-currency payment gateway. I live in Europe now, but this is when I was back in Australia. And that was crazy back then because, Bitcoin was really, really early. We were pitching to investors who said Bitcoin was a scam. They didn't want to give us any of their money. It was just the typical, it was so early and you can't blame them. 10 years later, it's now going to start. Now Bitcoin has revved its engines and the next 10 years is going to be really crazy. So I've been doing a lot of traditional marketing, digital marketing, but where I think I am very different to most marketers in crypto is that I understand crypto as well and blockchain. And that's what's quite special about what we're doing at Hawk Finance, to actually transform them from a meme token to a real crypto company, a decentralized financial player that can beat the rest.
So what is a meme token? I mean, what does that mean when people...
Sure. So a meme token, so you would have seen a meme before on the internet, right? So someone makes a picture or a video of something funny, maybe it's a politician or anyone, and they basically put some funny text or some graphics on it, and that meme goes viral. So a meme token is predominantly imagery, visuals that are based around something, an internet theme, you can say. And that's what the brand is facilitated around, but also how the brand is, how it resonates with community. So every meme token has these enormous communities that worship these tokens, that think they're, just the next best thing. And these meme tokens have this very special way of communicating and leveraging the community to market them globally. So if you consider Dogecoin has millions and millions of fans on Reddit and other places, people just go crazy for it. It builds this community of trust and fun, and where people can share memes and talk about the market and whatnot. So if you just think about a meme token, it's like any other currency, like Ethereum or Bitcoin, but really it's about there's a meme icon and the marketing, the way that it's used and the way that the community is built. So it's quite fun and creative.
So you take it, and what is the process if you're going from a meme token into like a DeFi 2.0 player? What does that mean, and how do you go from a meme token into this new atmosphere?
Yeah, crazy. So it's actually quite difficult because most meme tokens are run like volunteer projects. They're fully decentralized. There's no hierarchy. There's no leadership. That's all kind of like really passionate people volunteering to both donate their time and their energy, sometimes even money to get the show going. And to transform these brands, you literally have to build a brand new company. You have to actually, get registration, licensing for the right products you've got. You need a brand strategy. You have to hire people. Like it's a very difficult thing. It's actually harder to do because you're not working with a clean slate, and you've got to remember that these meme tokens are predominantly so fun and creative. So as soon as the community maybe senses a bit of like, oh, are they going to be a corporate now? Are they going to be like white collar? Maybe they get a little bit scared. So we have to basically prove to the community that we're always going to be a meme token. It's going to be fun and exciting. If you imagine it's going to be like Pokemon, right? Pokemon is like a kid's game, but it's run by, this massive organization with a lot of different levels and leadership. And so that's what we're trying to build right now. And in the last 6 months, so many incredible things have happened. I've appeared on international news and BBC, NTD, and just to be an authority to speak about meme tokens, crypto, and NFTs. And that hasn't happened with a meme token before. There hasn't been too many front-facing people speaking about this huge thing that's happening right now in the market, which is basically young people want to buy or prefer to buy meme tokens than they do US dollars. Now, that's a big, scary thing for the future if you are set on owning purely fiat currency, because you will miss out on the big opportunity ahead, which is how do I resonate with young people? And if you're not in that crypto space with what young people want to do with their money, you'll miss out. So that's what we're trying to lead, is that focus about bringing a fun brand and a currency to the next crypto generation.
Now, how can, I understand that the young people, I can't relate to the young people because they're born into computers and they're born in, I come from the days of pre-Google, so.
I understand.
So when you say that, they can't relate to the corporate banks, are they wanting everything to be now cloud-based? Because if I understand it, the crypto and all of this and the meme, the crypto and all this sort of stuff, I mean, it's just data.
Yep.
So how can the world all of a sudden say, well, we need to start trading in this data that has to be mined, and how can you sit there and say, is it going to be like a separate account, a bank account, and I get paid this way and transfer money? And
interesting. It's a great question. So the way you have to look at it is, and first I'll start with why they can't resonate with banks. So centralized banks typically have run the show for centuries, and what they're offering young people today is not what young people are getting in their everyday commerce experience. So take, for example, our utility token. So you buy this token and you can use it in our ecosystem. Okay. We're on Telegram. We have people all over the world working 24 hours a day, sending memes and jokes and videos and GIFs and 100% engagement. If I try to ring my bank now, it's only because I've lost my credit card. That's who really I can speak to. So you think about that level of engagement between a centralized bank and a meme token, it's right there. There's people that you can relate to straight away. Now, in terms of it being used as a currency, you just have to build things for the currency to be used. So, for example, we have our token on 3 different chains. So, Ethereum, Binance, and Heco chain. Now, what's really interesting about that is that you can bridge those tokens across those 3 chains to whatever your preference is and use them in our ecosystem. Right now, we've launched this product called Hawk Premium, where you can take your Ethereum and your USDC that might sit in your decentralized wallet, and you could almost like stake it, like you would invest gold in a bank, for example, and you can earn yield. So we're building products for people to actually use in their everyday life versus just a token that you would need a lot of infrastructure for. So eventually, when the local cafe or the movie theater starts accepting Ethereum-based tokens, for example, you'll be able to use something like Hawk because Hawk's based on Ethereum, on that chain. So I would say that the future of the world has to be more in terms of, I think there are going to be a lot of currencies, or at least a lot of dominant chains, like, for example, Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then you're going to have a lot of different currencies, and people are going to accept more, and you're going to get that conversion. It'll be much more simplistic, but it will be broken down more. I mean, Microsoft will probably one day have its own coin, and that's all you can probably buy Microsoft products with.
That's very interesting. So the future of crypto, I'm going to have regular currency, but then I'll have another area or account or website to go in, and I can see how much crypto I have or Ethereum.
Yep.
Do you think that crypto will get to the point where it's used more like an NFT? Because when I think of an NFT, I can sit there and say, well, I made this guitar, I made this, or I have 100 episode podcasts, and I put a value of it on it and sell it for these NFTs. So it's more of like a physical thing, or a value that I have. Do you think crypto is going to start doing that, or I'm going to need both NFTs and crypto?
Well, it's pretty much the same thing. So the NFT, the non-fungible token, is that series of letters and numbers that represents something on the blockchain that's unique and it can never be replaced. There are companies out there that are merging on-chain and off-chain assets. So that guitar, for example, let's say if it was signed by Jimi Hendrix, really valuable, you could sell that NFT with that physical asset, which would be like the certificate of authentication, which could never, ever, ever be replicated. That's the brilliance of an NFT. I think NFTs are going to replace a lot of things. I think they're going to replace things like stocks and bonds. I think they're going to replace what we traditionally think of when we think about if you consider that you can put money into something like a bank account. Well, for example, with our NFTs right now, we have a collection, Hawk NFTs. The moment that you mint an NFT, that NFT starts generating yield the moment you own it, which is kind of like really interesting because NFTs predominantly give you access to something, but this is actually giving you yield the moment it's yours. So now think about what else could you do? I mean, what if that piece of land you bought, piece of real estate, was represented by an NFT, there was liquidity behind it, like real cash, right? On let's say it was Ethereum based, and it earned yield just by sitting there as the market changed and the investment grew. Like that's the future of these sorts of things. So I think you'll find the crypto experience, NFT experience is all going to amalgamate, come together, and you're just going to be doing so much more. I know so many, like for example, when you do a token raise for your crypto projects, now people aren't offering tokens anymore. They're getting a collection of NFTs. People buy them, and that's what pays for the project. It's brilliant.
Now, how do you think, for instance, one of the big things that I keep hearing about is real estate blockchain investing. Okay.
Yep.
So let's say someone's trying to raise $10 million. they want to buy a multifamily complex or a hotel or just some type of a real estate project. Are you pretty much like right now? You'd have to, if I'm going to build something, I'd have to probably raise enough because the way I'm seeing is, well, the contractor that's going to build it would have to accept it, or else there'd be some way. Or if I go and just buy something, how do I go to a bank and say, hey, I have $5 million worth of crypto. I want to buy this $5 million asset.
Gotcha. I get your point.
You get my point. They're going to be like, the process, because then that bank is going to, no, I want cash. I don't want 5 million. So what's the process? That's another thing. And then if we do like a syndication, a real estate syndication, and I start, half the people want to give me cash, half the people want to give me tokens or crypto, and then I have to combine all this in order to buy something. Are we there yet, or we have to kind of wait till the banks all get on board?
No, we are here. We are definitely here. So you would have heard of Coinbase and Binance. These are centralized exchanges. Let's use Coinbase as an example. So when I buy crypto, when I buy Bitcoin or I buy Ethereum, I have to use, for example, US dollars. I have to use fiat currency. Okay, so it leaves the central bank and enters the blockchain. So you can reverse that. So the moment you want to raise $5 million, you simply reverse that pattern. Is that you take your ETH and your Bitcoin and you convert it to USD on Coinbase, and then you send it to your bank account. So your contractors, your builders, they don't have to accept crypto because you can pay them in whatever currency they want. The difference is that when you raise money, you can raise so much faster and so much easier. I know guys out there that are raising millions and millions of dollars from crypto VCs who are like, okay, who's the team? And is your contracts audited? Okay, I'll send you $1 million.
Yeah.
Like it's a different world. We're moving away from like physical, tangible paper contracts to smart contracts. You put something in, you take something out. So if you wanted to raise 5, 10 million, whatever you wanted to raise right now for a real estate project, you could absolutely do it through anything from NFTs to tokens, whatever. It's already there, and you could pay people in whatever means they wanted to be paid.
Yeah, I mean, that's fascinating. I guess you'd have to find the law firm that knew how to create the syndication paperwork and know what they were talking about in order to add those clauses. Crypto.
I would say that you could.
Go ahead.
What you could probably do is that you could probably release NFTs to owners, and then that liquidity pool in which they add money to when they've minted an NFT, when they've created one, that would maybe somehow legally represent that complex you're trying to build. That's what they own. So their ownership is tied to that, just like a contract would be tied to it.
And how difficult would it be? Because I don't know what the dollar per token exchange ratio is, the exchange rate. Would you have to have someone that says, okay, I'm going to pay you $1 million worth of crypto because I'm going to be $1 million investor. I go and say, okay, now I convert that to US dollars in order to pay the bank. Is it right now like a 1-for-1, or could at some point, because I know it goes up and down, like kind of like the market. I go in and turn to the bank, and all of a sudden it's only worth 800,000.
Yep. Yeah. I'm right. Yeah, and that's the big thing with the volatility. It's mostly been solved right now from what's called a stable token or a stable coin. So there's something called USDC, which is US dollar coin on Ethereum, for example, and that's basically a token that represents the real value or reflects the value of the US dollar at any time. And it changes up and down based on the amount of cash that they have at any one hand. And so when there's too much US dollar coin, then they kind of reduce it from the supply. But right now, for example, you can accept USDC as a stable coin. and you won't lose any value. And when you go to the bank to exchange it for $1 million, you'll get $1 million. There's no doubt about that. If you accept it in Ethereum and if you take ETH, right, and then it tanks 10, 20% by the time you drive to the bank, that's a problem. But it could also do the other way. It could also go up 30, 40%. So what I would do if I'm going to raise money for anything like this, that's more of a, low middle risk asset that you don't want to bring too much volatility to in the means in which you accept capital, then I would be accepting USDC. That's how most token raises are done right now for projects. So if I'm going to raise money, like this year, I've got 2 projects under my belt. And if I go out and raise, then I'll raise it money for, in USDC, because I don't want to have that same problem that you just mentioned.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's interesting. It's, the world is, it's crazy. You think about 100 years ago, from 50 years ago, and what's going to happen just 5 years from now, 10 years from now. What do you think? We hit on it a little bit. What do you think the future of crypto is? Are you going to have more and more and more and more? Or are they all going to be, and you said Microsoft might do one, who knows, Elon Musk might, have a Tesla coin, you just, if he decides to do it, he'll just do it. Do you see all of a sudden having like 100 of all these different things going around?
Yeah, I think you'll have the dominant players. I think that the next 5 or 10 years will be interesting because a lot of them are going to drop off. There are a lot of lower market cap tokens right now that will explode because we are still so early. I mean, like trillions and trillions of dollars are going to come into this industry. The scary part about this actually is more what happens when there's not enough centralized money. And that's something that no one can really predict. But if you want to play doomsday, then it's the end of the world. Because at some point, the bank has to say, there's now 25% of centralized money in the blockchain, and we can't get it out. Because remember that crypto money is your money. You can lend it, you can send it, you can spend it. It's not controlled by any centralized service. So what happens to crypto at that point, but more so what happens to fiat at that point? Because the Western world we can't have the same level of inflation in some of the South American countries or parts of Africa. We can't bump up inflation like that, where it's like $1 trillion to buy a loaf of bread, because it will, it'll really crash. We are, big consumers here, manufacturers, everything. So the scary part is more hundreds of currencies, but more what happens to fiat. How do they play a role together? I don't know.
Yeah, it's because everyone knows that the governments in the Western world, they're reactive instead of proactive. So they'll wait till it happens until they say, "Oh my God, we need to fix something." You'd think that right now they would sit there and say, "Okay, look, this is happening," because I think their only thought process right now is how can we regulate it and how can we tax it, not how we can work with it.
Yeah. Exactly. It is literally impossible to stop this movement. Funny enough, I talked about meme tokens going viral. Blockchain has gone viral, and you cannot just put this under the rug. It's because crypto is an idea. If you plant an idea into someone's head and you say, this money is yours, you can control it. You can do anything you want with it anytime. No one owns it. They almost don't grasp the concept. But what about a bank? Well, banks in this model don't exist. They don't provide anything anymore. So you're right. Governments they're so far behind because they don't even understand it. And I actually spoke to a woman some time ago who was leading a very large bank in their sort of anti-money laundering department specifically about crypto, people not wanting to pay tax. Because basically, you only pay tax in a certain region when you realize your crypto. Otherwise, you could be a trillionaire in crypto and never pay that, tax. But anyway, she didn't know what a centralized exchange was. And I'm like, how is anybody at your level not knowing what a centralized exchange is? Like, didn't know Web3 wallet was, or these blockchains, or anything. And I'm like, this is really crazy because you guys are so far behind, not just about catching criminals or the guy that doesn't want to pay his tax, but just far behind on the industry. Like if you're going to appoint a head of a big bank to like catch people and understand this space, you better know at least what Coinbase is, at least, just so you can catch the bad guys.
It seems like here in America, they're so concerned about catching the bad guys. You know how we now everyone has to report if I exchange more than $600, PayPal and things like that. I'm like going, that's not where we need to be focusing on, these $600 things. It's the future, and it is scary. And now another thing is the amount of energy. Do you think the amount of energy to mine all of this, do you think that's going to get easier?
Yeah. I mean, I think like new technologies are always coming out. There's so many things about some countries will go towards nuclear power, and there's so much stuff going on. So the energy, there's also that argument of energy that Bitcoin is, more energy like wasting. But if you consider how large the private banks are, how many staff and those enormous concrete skyscrapers they have, like a lot of energy has gone into that for a very, very long time. Bitcoin is very, very new. I wouldn't say that, but again, it's kind of like the fear they put out there. Like I like, for example, our babysitter, we were talking today, she's 19 years old, and we were talking about Bitcoin, and she thought Bitcoin was only used by, criminals. She had no idea about this stuff. Now it's funny because Bitcoin is more familiar to her than it was when I discovered it. I discovered it when I was like 23, for example. I'm 33 now. But, it's kind of like the fear indicator of what they want the average retail investor to actually think. Because a lot of money can be made right now in crypto. The next 5-10 years is going to be insane. But I just feel that the government doesn't want you to make that money. They want to more or less facilitate what money you can make, or more importantly, facilitate what money you should be paying and what you owe the government.
Yeah, exactly. That's just the way the world works. Well, Mark, it has been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
I'm enlightened and kind of like, wow, because you brought up some things I'd never thought about. What will happen when there's more crypto than there is dollars?
Yeah.
Because the whole world all of a sudden is going to sit there and say, wait a second, because there will be inflation, there will be, the world will need to proactively and very quickly figure out how to do this.
Exactly.
And that's scary, but it's exciting until, hopefully I'll be retired and on some island, before, before all of that happens.
Before the world ends. Yeah.
Any parting comments, Mark?
I would say that if you're interested in real estate and crypto, like there are a lot of great projects out there where you can learn about off-chain and on-chain assets. On-chain assets specifically being about, NFTs and tokens on the blockchain and how they can work with off-chain assets like a building or an apartment. There's a lot going on, but I would say that if I can leave one message is that, the next 5 or 10 years are going to be the biggest transfer of wealth in history. And if you can invest to what you can afford to lose, as they say, and just have a little play around and see how it goes, that's the best advice I can do. And I would say I've always been right on my gut instinct about getting into crypto. Now that's all I do. I don't do anything else besides crypto, and it's changed my life. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity out there. Where can people find you? You can find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, I'm always on. You can just search my name, Mark Basa. Of course, if you want to visit where I am established now as a global brand and business manager at Hokk Finance, that's HOKK.finance. And you can see all the cool things that we're building right now.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Mark.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. Take care.
Take care.